So I'm actually from. I was born in Chicago, so I'm an American, but my parents are Croatian immigrants, and I'm a proud Croatian as well. And we moved back and forth. So I actually identify more as a Croatian because I speak Croatian. That's my blood, my language, my culture. My heart is in Croatia. Uh, Even though I'm currently in Mexico, and my name literally means Croatian. So that's my roots, and so I grew up between both worlds, and then I ended up in Mexico. So
Hold on one second. It occurs to me to put a note on Twitter that my Rumble is not working.
great to see Stephanie Ramirez in the chat. ¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo estás, Stephanie? Maybe she's a Mexican American. I'm actually an American Mexican. There you go. So
That's a funny point I often think of is the idea of me having Irish roots, but I'm not an Irish American. I'm more like an American with Irish roots. So I call myself an American Irishman. Might be.
yeah, you can go at it that way.
All right, I'm just making a note on Twitter. Hang on.
Sure, yeah, and what else can I say from Chicago? And yeah, I did go. I did decide to permanently expatriate from the United States in 2006 after learning about the empire and many things. And I ended up doing Peace Corps Mongolia. So I lived in the yurts in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia, and then I studied diplomacy in Geneva, Switzerland. Some of my professors included Saddam Hussein's defense lawyer, Yasser Arafat's brother-in-law, people like this. And then I got a job teaching in 2010 in Mexico. So it's been 13 years in Mexico. And I did go off to Kazakhstan in 2017 for 3 years, technically employed by Nursultan Nazarbayev, the president he was president for 30 years in Kazakhstan. So, and when COVID 1984 hit, as I call it, I just decided to run back to Mexico. So,
Well, was there a time you lived in Croatia?
yeah, when I was a kid, every year we'd go for many months, and then when I was in fifth grade. I went to fifth grade in Croatia. I went to high school in Croatia. So just back and forth, So,
and let's go into your what you just said. All of it's very interesting. Let's start with when you discovered the empire, or just started. Tell me how that happened.
Yeah, so it was in the 2000s. I mean, I guess you can say somewhere around 2001. Not to do with 9/11 in 2001, but I was raised. I was were raised Catholic in Croatia, but I became sort of a non-denominational Christian. Sort of like Baptist, Reformed, Evangelical, whatever you want to call it. So when I was at age 17, I read the Bible and became a Christian, and a lot of the prophecies spoke to me, and then that mixed with ongoings, what's going on in the world. That sort of was my first going down the rabbit hole. And then I think it was somewhere like 2002, 2003, 2004. I start, learn. You learn about Infowars and Alex Jones and many other people, not just him. And I came to view 9/11, as a false flag operation, and then learning about the Federal Reserve System. I think many people have heard of Creature from Jekyll Island by Edward Griffin. I got his book right behind me. Actually, he took me out to lunch. Now it'll be 12 years ago. I had the great opportunity because I volunteered for his website, and I happened to be passing through LA. And so Edward Griffin took me out to lunch, sort of as a thanks. And so I had just thought growing up in America that I'm just a U.S. citizen and that America's just a country. And then later I realized, no, this is the biggest empire the world has ever seen. It's starting all of these wars around the world. It seeks global domination. And then as a historian later, I realized, over time, America is going to become, as the empire crumbles, it's going to become, well, either as it crumbles or as it grows bigger, it's going to become more totalitarian. It's also going to become more degenerate culturally. And look what's happening now, 20 years later. Look what's happening. Last year my own government, just as I foresaw 20 years ago. They're shutting off my Patreon account, my PayPal account. They're trying to classify me as an enemy of the state. The Department of Homeland Security. That's why they took off my PayPal, because in their own papers they say that any U.S. citizen, probably like yourself, who's questioning the narrative, who's creating disinformation, they are a non-kinetic threat. They're attacking the cyber infrastructure of the U.S. government. So just as if you learn history, you can extrapolate into the future a lot of these trends, and here we are. So
You certainly got started a lot earlier than I did. Congratulations on that. And it's I guess comparing myself in 2002, I was practicing law. I was starting to get to the end of my tolerance of that profession, and really just kind of unhappy generally, but having to work really hard to keep things going. And I got real interested in the Obama campaign. I had been a Democrat most of my life, a liberal, but not a really hard thinking one, just one that generally thought, well, the Republicans are bad, so I'll vote for the Democrats. And more little bit more detailed than that, but generally the idea of voting Republican was far from my mind back then. And as I told you on our radio show a couple weeks ago, as I started getting closer and closer into the Obama campaign and working with them and starting to know some of the people in it, it was amazing that he won and everybody was happy. And we went to the inauguration, and it was like 1 million just really thrilled people. And we saw the big Marine helicopter take off with George W. Bush in it, and we thought it's a new era. But it didn't take long for the illusion to fail for me. And that's how I started on my journey. Now, you've been to some amazing places. Let's start with the first place you ended up after I forget which one it was. Go ahead.
I was just going to comment. I noticed Robert Kennedy Jr. just announced he might be running for president. So if he does, that might be the first time in my life I vote as a Democrat for Robert Kennedy Jr. because, I think he's the only real deal, because they killed his uncle, they killed his father, and he said he's ready to die with his boots on. So that's the kind of politician that we need. I'm trying to do that with the work that I do. I've already got the state breathing down my neck, and so if they kill me, they kill me. And so that's the attitude I think everyone needs to have. If we had enough, they can't kill us all. So if we had a critical mass of people with this mentality, they couldn't stop us. But yeah, I was growing up between U.S. and Croatia, and then I went off to Mongolia in 2006.
Wow. Now tell us, please, a little bit about that. Did you learn Tuvan throat singing?
Funnily enough, that was one of my inspirations. So I decided my ticket out of America was the Peace Corps. I mean, the Peace Corps was founded by John F. Kennedy in 1961. And yes, it is used for imperial purposes, but I think it is a good organization. I think it does have some of what John F. Kennedy earnestly, tried to do. And the locals in general, where Peace Corps is present around the world, people really accept and enjoy the fact that Americans are there in these countries. And so Mongolia, the reason I had wanted to go to the Middle East, because I also am fascinated by the Middle East, but I had to wait a while. So I said, I don't want to wait. I want to get out of Dodge. And I saw this documentary film called, funnily enough, Genghis Blues. And it was produced by two Croatian brothers. And it followed Paul Pena. He was a blind blues musician from San Francisco. And Paul Pena, he on the radio, he discovered Tuvan throat singing. And for people who don't know, Homi, as they call it, Humi, it's where they sing in 2 or 3 or more different tones simultaneously. And, Tuva and Mongolia, it's basically like the same, culture, if you ask me, the same region. And so through that, I discovered Mongolia. And then, yeah, I went off to Mongolia. I lived in the yurt. I became at one point intermediate in Mongolian language. I've since forgotten it, but fascinating country, lovely people. I would go back and live there. In the winter, it gets really cold, like -20 Celsius, -30. And I love, I'm just kind of the person, it's got the lowest population density on the planet in terms of a country, like 3 to 4 million people. And I just love being in the middle of nowhere. And you're literally in the middle of nowhere. I was in the village in the Gobi, outside of the village for hundreds of kilometers, absolutely nothing. So, wonderful.
Yeah, and I picture a lot of goats. Was there a lot of goats all over
A
the
lot of
place?
camels, horses, sheep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because I think those are a lot better for the environment than goats. And then from Kazakhstan, what was your next extraordinary venture?
Well, after Mongolia, I went
I
back
mean, Mongolia.
came back to the U.S. briefly, and then went off to Switzerland, Geneva, Switzerland, for a year, studying at the Geneva School of Diplomacy. That was founded in the early 2000s. It's a private school founded by an Irishman, funnily enough, Colum de Sales Murphy, who worked in the UN during the war in Bosnia, the Yugoslav wars. And yeah, I wanted to study international relations. I studied history in Illinois, and then now international relations. And like I said, some of my professors, Curtis Dobler, Dutch American lawyer who represented Saddam Hussein, Alfred de Zayas was one of my professors. He's been on my show. He was at the UN special rapporteur. He did the report on Venezuela. He's the great grandson of Cuba's president. Ibrahim Sous was my professor, Yasser Arafat's brother-in-law. And so people like this. So I really got, one of my classmates was the son of China's ambassador to the UN. And so, yeah, I did a year and got my master's. And then I said, I'm going to go anywhere in the world. I was looking for jobs potentially in Alaska, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, going back to Mongolia. And then I got a job offer in Mexico. And I thought, who wouldn't like Mexico? Warm weather, great food, pretty women. Why not learn Spanish? Everyone wants to learn Spanish. And so this is life. I thought maybe I'll come for a year or two, becomes 10. I marry a Mexican, become Mexican myself. I'm a proud Mexican citizen. And so, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you just said you voted in the United States.
Huh?
You vote in the U.S.?
I can vote in the U.S. and in Mexico and in Croatia.
Okay, all right.
They got three citizenships. So
I wish they'd give me an Irish citizenship so I could.
You could probably pursue it and get it.
Yeah, they said if your grandfather was Irish, you can get it, but mine's my great grandfather was Irish, so a little bit farther. But anyway, fascinating. My mind is like still torn because I want to see if I can start the Rumble stream, and the reason that I didn't do it was because I couldn't figure out in my mind how exactly to do it. But I think I can see how to try it right now. Would you mind if we just end this stream and start another one just as soon as I can?
Sure.
I'll send you a link on Twitter message, and
all right.
we'll try it once again in just a moment. Okay. All right.